Beaten and killed by multiple correctional officers. Today, 3 out of the 4 officers arrested in connection to the death learned their punishment for their actions. NBC6's Christian Colon joins us with the exclusive details.
I'm not guilty of murder. I'm not guilty of murder, and I've been there moving this whole case.
I'm not guilty of murder, said ex-corrections officer Kirk Walton, as he tried to convince a judge to not sentence him to 20 years in prison.
I wanted to go to trial, and at a number of times I told him I wanted to go to trial.
Walton, Christopher Rowland, and Jeremy Godbolt pled guilty earlier this year to beating inmate Ronald Ingram to death. The deal they accepted was 20 years in prison in exchange for their testimony in the trial of the 4th officer, Ronald Connor.
What's the motion for?
To withdraw one plea.
You want to file a motion to withdraw your plea now?
Yes.
But now Rowland and Walton regret taking that deal because despite testifying in Connor's trial, jurors found their colleague not guilty of murder.
You had every opportunity in the world. Now, perhaps one of your co-defendants who went to trial was trying to give him something lesser, maybe you're reconsidering. That is not like God.
Judge denied the request to take back their pleas and sentence all 3 to 20 years in prison like they signed up for.
But I pray for all of them, and I pray for the family of God to keep my grandson and those young men. They're not devils. They're not evil. Things happen.
Godbolt's family was shaken learning their loved one isn't coming home anytime soon, but they sent this message to the victim's family.
I want that family to know that the Godbolt family is extremely sorry what happened to their loved one, and know that we sympathize with them, and know that my son would never do anything to intentionally hurt, harm somebody, or take someone's life, because I know my son.
And the judge also told those ex-officers the inmate died in the worst way possible. She said if it weren't for those plea deals and had the jury convicted that 4th officer, she would have given them all life sentences. In Miami, Christian Colon, NBC6 News.
Hello, welcome to episode 113 of Just My Opinion. And this one I'm entitling Blood on the Badge. Due to the recent conviction of 3 Miami-Dade correctional officers who were sentenced to 20 years in prison after pleading guilty to brutally beating an inmate in 2022 that resulted in that inmate's death. Three Miami-Dade Christopher Rowland, Kurt Watson, and Jeremy Godbolt was 3 of the 4 officers arrested in connection in the death of 60-year-old Robert Ingram, who was found dead with more than 20 broken ribs and internal bleeding. Prosecutors claim that the officer was upset Ingram threw urine at them. That could make you upset. Definitely that. Now, is that a reason to kill somebody? No. I'm not guilty of murder. I'm not guilty of murder, said Walton from the inmate gallery as he was trying to convince the judge not to sentence him to 20 years and urged her to withdraw his plea deal. The 4th South Florida officer accused of beating an inmate to death was arrested. Willard Shepard, Walton, Godbolt, and Rowland accepted a deal earlier this year in exchange for their testimony against the 4th officer, Roland Connors. At the hearing of Walters and Godbolt, and Roland's testimony and all the evidence, the jury acquitted Connors of murder and only found him guilty of negligence. Connor is a free man. Now, Walter, Rorlock, they want to take their pleas back. You want to file a motion to withdraw your plea now, said Judge Teresa Poyen to Roland. Yes, he replied. He was surprisingly handed a judgment. He handed the judge a motion. Slight request for Perla. The judge denied the commercials. You had every opportunity in the world. Now perhaps one of your co-defendants went to trial and was found not guilty. And was found guilty something of lesser than what you are reconsidering. That's not my problem, Judge Poyer stated. Here's a case of they bit the cheese. Now, evidently, let's don't make light of this. There's a gentleman that's dead. There's a gentleman that was brutally beaten. He had broken bones and internal bleeding. He was 60 years old. He was elderly gentleman. We're not going to make no light of that. Here's a case where these three jumped the fence, bit the cheese, and said, let's testify against this other gentleman, and we'll get off with a lighter sentence. 20 years is a lighter sentence. They were facing life. He took it to trial, went to trial, got found not guilty. Even with them testifying against him, even evidence with this man had severely broken ribs and internal beating. He passed away from this breed. Someone did something. There's a fact that this man is no longer here, and I want to give my condolences to his family and him. This is a case of you, excuse me, you jumped the gun, you bit the cheese, and you got caught in the mouse trap. So now the best thing for you to do is take your 20 years like a man, do your time, come out and live the rest of your life. So let's be honest, all of you should have been found guilty. This man isn't here no more. I know throwing you on him, stuff like that can get you upset and get you ready to really tighten someone up for that. Trust me, I get it. But this just was a case of you had to show restraint. Y'all did the crime. Y'all took the plea deal. He took it to trial. He put his fate up against the charges, which y'all said we guilty. Let's just take a plea. He said no. And y'all agreed to testify against this gentleman. He took it to trial and he beat it. There's no turning back now. Like there's no turning back from the way y'all viciously and brutally beat this man. This is going to be a rather short episode. I'd like to give a shout out to Saeed Abu Amin. Anybody want to get in contact with him for any beats or anything musical? Saeed Abu Amin, Facebook, Instagram. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my man Crizzy. Continue to support. I need your support. I thank you for your support. Thanks, like, share, and subscribe. Everyone that supports me, all of my subscribers, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. And thanks to you too for giving me an opportunity to express myself and this platform to express myself. Thank you. Goodbye.